So, okay. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I thought it would be really important to look at different states of health, what this means for us, our perception of it with regards to supporting and maintaining our health, and the messages that we're getting from the food industry, which I think could be quite confusing, hence the reason why I'm doing this video. So to start with, we have the word disease. In today's world, we're thinking of chronic diseases, things like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, all those kinds of chronic diseases that we hear a lot about in the media. Now, when we think of that word disease, it often brings up a negative connotation. And I think that if we reframe it, we break down that word and we think of it more as dis-ease, which is actually what it means. The word disease, and think of it dis-ease, is telling us that our body is no longer at ease in the way that it's functioning. There's something that's out of balance. There's something that it's trying to deal with and compensate for, hence the word disease. And we are often, as I said, given this negative image of it. And I would argue that if we phrase it and look at it more in the term of, okay, what can I do to help improve my health and support my disease? And it doesn't have to be gigantic, huge changes in our lifestyle, but these can be very simple things that we're often not even aware that we can do. To start with, one of the things that I'd like to cover today is the labeling of products that we often see in the grocery store and how this can make a big change for us as consumers and when we're looking at our health. So to start with, when I was in the grocery store today, I picked up one of these because I thought it was a great example. We now have in Canada little signs that'll say high in sugar. And as you can see, this one doesn't. So most people would pick this up and go, hey, this is a great option. There's not too much sugar in this. However, when we take a closer look at the places that matter, we realize that there's actually more sugar in this product than we realize, except it's not the sugar that you may be looking for. So there's a terminology that we call hidden sugars. And these are things that we're talking about. They have words like aspartame, sucralose, maltodextrin, corn syrup. All of these are sugar flavorings that are added to so many processed and highly processed foods to make them increase their shelf life, to increase their palatability, and obviously because they do give us that sensation, the taste that we want to buy again and again to find that flavor. So going back to this one, we see that there's no sugar. We think this is a great option. If we look behind at the nutritional box here, we'll see that there's actually very little sugar, in theory, in this product. When we then turn and look at the actual ingredients, we'll see that there are some natural flavors that have been added. And in this one, there is some aspartame, which again is one of those hidden sugars. Now, the issue with these products, these sugar flavorings, is because legally they are not considered sugar, they will not figure in that nutritional box. However, they can put as much as they want in the products because, hey, legally they're not sugar, so we can add what we want. Now, I think this, from a point of view of your consumer, is super important to understand because these products aren't cheap. We can choose to have them once in a while, that's absolutely fine. But when these products are constantly in our daily lives, this is when we have issues with them without even realizing that they're problematic. The issue with these hidden sugars is they are highly inflammatory for our gut, which then creates inflammation in the blood, which is carried around to our weak spot, depending on our genetics. This leads to issues with our joints. People often feel that they have achy, swollen joints. If somebody suffers from arthritis, then it will increase the inflammation due to the arthritis. It can create skin issues. It can create brain fog and just general tiredness. Why is it creating that tiredness? That's because the inflammatory factors in our gut travel through the gut lining into our bloodstream. From there, they're taken around to every single cell in our body. So again, if we have a weak point, those inflammatory factors will find them. and then they'll exploit them, and we're the ones that end up feeling bad. So when we start piecing these things together, we can easily see that these products are just not good for us. I'm not saying that we have to banish them completely, but if this is something that you're using regularly, you may want to look at another option. And we don't mean to say that everything sweet is bad for us, and I really want to make that clear. What we're really concerned is, where is the sweetness coming from in the products that we're eating? If the sweet things is coming from things like fruits, nuts, berries, vegetables, carrots are quite sweet, beetroots are quite sweet. These are sugars that when we ingest and we eat them, our body knows exactly how to break them down. These are natural products that the body intakes. And if we think of our body as a very high functioning factory, which is actually what it really is, it will intake these products, it'll break them down into the various chemical compounds, and then it'll send them off to the various departments that are needed for them, and we'll make use of them, and there'll be no harm done to the body. So our body is completely at ease. When we bring in these products, there are products in there that our body is thinking, well, I don't know what this is. I know it's harmful for the body, so I'm going to try and eliminate it through sweat, through urine, through the stools. If it's unable to do that, our body is always looking, trying to protect us, keep us in balance. It will take those products and it will store them in our fat cells. When they're in our fat cells, the inflammation is still happening. So they will still create inflammatory factors that will be put back into our bloodstream, and we have the same issues at the beginning, is that these factors will go around our bloodstream to different parts of the body, creating inflammation, as I said at the beginning, depending on what our genetic profile is. So I think we really need to take a step back and think, well, what do I want to do to improve my health, to support it? As I said, it doesn't mean cutting these out completely, but we may want to think to reducing them to, if you're somebody that drinks them 3-4 times a day, maybe just have them once or twice a day. If you're having them a couple of times a week, maybe just have them on the weekend. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, but these products aren't cheap. And when we understand what they're actually doing to us, especially in the long term, I think it can be quite easy after a while to say, well, do I really want to spend my hard-earned cash on these products that at the end of the day are just not making me feel good? So we always have to remember our body is trying to keep us in balance. It's trying to keep us safe. And one of the things that I often hear my clients talk about is, oh, my body's broken, there's something wrong with it, I don't understand. Once we start tuning into these sensations of how we actually feel and how the food products that we're eating are making us feel, things start to make sense, and we can then decide to make choices to actually support our health. Even if we have a chronic disease, lots that we can do to support it and be better for ourselves. So if this is content that you enjoyed, that you liked, please sign and subscribe, and I will be posting another video shortly. Have a great evening.